Good morning, everybody. Let's give you your fancy open. We'll do it really fast. I know I'm behind. It is what it is. Today is just a plethora of news. Let me hit this. There's the first fancy opening for everybody. And let me give you your fancy music. Hold on. All right, let's turn that off and let's do the 30 seconds. Good morning, cool cats and kittens. All right, let's get to it here and let's start making the donuts. So I'm going to tell you once again that I am really trying to get this to a place where I can get on here earlier. It's just been insanely hard lately. Some of the news, like, I mean, I must have read an hour and a half or 2 hours of news this morning. It's like crazy. I always love watching these guys that tell you like, oh, look, you can trade and you're done in an hour. Like, wow, I've been doing something wrong for 20 years. But if you look at this, like, do we finally stay above that? Does it finally break out? Do you finally see that lift? You know, you've had this for a long period of time here, man, like a long period of time. And you did the undercut from here, watch the RSI. What's interesting to me from the RSI perspective is you did undercut, but very, very briefly, and then you did the double tag. So you do kind of have a divergence there, and that's on a daily. But when you look at how tight this was and you had the breakout and then you had the opposite reaction down here, equal and opposite reaction, you're still in this range since May 22nd. And if you come across, it's really that level. So, you know, are you finally going to break out in small caps? And the question is, I think that you got a lot of excitement about rate cuts, and I just don't know that you're going to get them with what's going on with the tariff battle. And I think that that's the biggest. I really think that's the biggest, problem that you have here is trying to plan that out. So what does that look like for us? I think it looks something like this. I think it looks something like that and going, okay, well, we broke that DTL. We came back, we tested it. And I think it's important to spend a couple of minutes here on the RTY. We ran up, we came back, we tested it, and then we lifted. So then what do we do about that? I think you need to see it stay above this key level. I really do. I think if you're looking at this, you want to stay above that 22.37 and go from there, because they know what's coming. They know rate cuts are coming. They just might not be coming to May of next year when they get a new Fed chair. But this idea that you're going to cut September, October, or September, December, I think there's a meeting in October too, right? Hold on. Pardon me. Allergies are brutal down here right now. I'm in Miami. I don't know. I've never had allergies down here like this. I was just talking to some guy yesterday about it as well. September, October, September 17th, October 26th, December 10th. You have, and Goldman's saying, oh, we're going to cut 3 times. For what reason? So if inflation starts picking up again, and I think they're trying to get ahead of this, I think they're cheating it a little too early. But I do think it's interesting that you're holding that level, and I wanted to go through that. If we look at the NQ and we start looking at this, the negative divergence that's there, which I guess we can remove at this point because you negated it. And I took all my 400 levels off, and we just started again and looked. The very first one you'd have to focus on is back here, which is when he cut rates and he didn't know why he did what he did, right? And then we tried to break out and we went from there. But this is that December 18th. This is that Fed bar right here. And so we tried to break out there, and we've tried a couple times, but why'd you cut rates? So I don't know. And then we haven't cut rates since. So the question really is, where do we go from here? I keep looking at this and I keep waiting for the push. I'm over on a lot of the stuff. I'm not over here, but we're not really breaking down yet either. I don't use the moving average for those that are asking, but we are holding up here. And the question to me always is, am I eating, when I stop in these areas, am I eating up demand? And when I start to look at this stuff a little bit, it's got me a little concerned with what I'm seeing. A little concerned, not a lot, but you are getting somewhat of a divergence here, from that top pick down, and they usually don't end very well. But I don't know if you're just going to get underperformance or you're going to fall apart. Like I'm not really sure what I'm going to get here. So for me, I think the most important thing is to just understand that this is what I'm dealing with, and I'm over for now, and now let's just see what happens. If I drop it down to the pre-market level and we just start here, what we'd have to focus on is just obviously this peak. And, I don't do this often. Hold on one second. But when I see stuff like this and we have those peaks on those, off days, which was Thursday, I do find it helpful to just kind of drop a VWAP on those and just see what's going on. And you can see that rejection on Sunday night. You can see it yesterday at Monday at 8 o'clock. And you're still battling that area. So is that an area of interest? It is. I would argue that you're seeing a change. That's kind of where I would go with it. I would argue that you're seeing a change and that they're flipping it a little bit. And I would argue that that change is becoming a test and holding support, but you're sitting right on it. So if someone had to say, well, what's the most important level right now, that peak VWAP right there is pretty important to me. And if you break that, I think you're setting down, but we don't have any econ data today that's really going to set us off. I'm sure there's a bond auction somewhere. There's always a bond auction lately. Hold on. Let me just pull that up and see what I'm dealing with here today. Yeah, it's tomorrow. That's the big one. But today I have a 1 year and a 3 year note that are coming out at 11:30 and 1 o'clock. But I don't really have anything big. Tomorrow's the big one. At 1 o'clock, you have the 10 year, and tomorrow you have the FOMC minutes. But if you can't get above this and hold above it, I really think that's your issue, and that's really what I would focus on. And so I'd be super I'm telling you where my head is. I'd be super chill today. I would. Chew. Pardon me. Thank you. But I'd be super chill today. I wouldn't be in a big hurry here at all. I would just kind of watch the world go by. And that's really where my head is with this whole market. I don't know that I want to do a lot here. This is brutal. God, guys are such babies with allergies, aren't we? But look at the peak VWAP. Look at what you're dealing with. You can't get over it. And I just think it's important to note, you tried on Sunday, you tried last night, you tried this morning, and, over Monday morning rather. And then here we are again, boom, and you're being rejected once again, like I am by Giselle. So I do think that when you see this, just pay attention to it and really focus on it. Like I don't know what else to tell you, but it's definitely a thing that they are selling from that 1 o'clock on Thursday. And if you think about it from this perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Why? Because the people that bought there bought on the premise of the index that you were going to have some kind of situation where you were going to have a resolution. And so they're buying the market predicated on a resolution, and you don't have one, do you? So I think that's a real problem. And I think that that's something that needs to be addressed, but it is what it is right now. So I wouldn't put anything past that. I would just focus on the fact that, yeah, it's a problem and we need to address it. We got to get rid of those people. And right now they're just in a hurry to get out. And until they're done, we're not really going anywhere. Let me just put that here and click on it and go from there. Go to the SPY. And you'll see the same exact thing here. Right? Okay. So you're seeing the same exact things over and over again. And I don't see any reason to change that. Do you break that level? Your guess is as good as mine. I actually think you're better off waiting for dips in this market. Wait for a mean tweet, act on the mean tweet. It's really what's been working for me. The pullbacks on, when something gets accentuated. The best article I read on tariffs, if I could say this, was the fact that what the administration is currently doing is going after the allies of China and alienating them with higher tariffs, and then trying to deal with China. But who knows if that's actually accurate? But I'd like to see it wrapped up, but I don't think we're going to see this wrapped up anytime soon. And that's really how I see the SPY right now. It really is. Let's just keep going here. Keep getting this stuff done. And then we'll just put the Qs there as well. And they're your big ones, but again, you just mark off your peak VWAP right there. Maybe you hold, maybe you don't. If the futures aren't holding, is this going to hold? Probably not. But you never know. So watch it. Don't assume anything. Is that going to flip? Oh, you wouldn't want to break 552.80. That would probably be an issue. So putting an alert there is probably a smart idea, I would think. Like, are we going to get below that? I'd like to know if we're going to get below it. And I really don't think you have to chase anything here. I don't feel that way. But this market's been crazy. From my perspective, what I see a lot of, I don't think I have the right news ones in here. We can get rid of you today. Tesla should stay up here. CoreWeave, I don't think it's really news driven anymore. Crowd's not really being news driven. IONQ did a secondary. Apparently people love the fact that they did a secondary. They're all over it. They're all over that today, and they were all over this yesterday too, which is just kind of crazy. Like, everyone got all giddy for this. And that's what I'm saying. Like, they're setting people up big time lately. Oh, look, you're over. Come on in. Water's fine. And then they're just rug pulling over and over again. So NN looks like you want to go again, but there's some other little names there I'm not going to get into right now. If I looked at the bigger names, the D-Dog, they're kind of like whacking off the open on this downgrade. You got a downgrade today, and it just doesn't seem to be able to get any legs on that, with the downgrade. This is really, if you really wanted to buy it, this is exactly what you're looking for. Can you get to this level? Are you going to hold that level? Are you going to break through it? You'd probably want to put a little bit of an alert there and just see if you hit that level. To me, that's like a really, I think that's a pretty interesting one. That's one that I would definitely focus on this morning. But, for time's sake, I think I'm just going to take a bunch of questions. In regards to NVIDIA and these names, you're popping up, you're staying up. The reason you came down is, are they going to be a weapon with China? I don't really have an answer to that. What I would do with all these names that took out highs is that's not right. I would be dropping levels on them and watching those levels right here. And everyone knows, okay, where's just the remove button? Can you work with me today? I'm really not in the mood. Okay. What I would be doing with these, there we go, is looking at them and just making sure that you're above them and you stay above them. So that 158.83 would probably be the level to look at, see if you can hold there or not, because you have a support line there or resistance line, support, resistance, support, support, and now you're flipping it. So if you come down to there, that would probably be your area of interest. But I don't know that I would, I don't know that I'd be chasing anything. Car manufacturers should do well if inflation does kick up again. I do think that they, might do well if they kick up again, but that's it. Let's take questions with the time that we have, left. Oh, invites did go out. If you are on the list to get into the community, make sure that you look for them because they did go out. Yeah, I think the drop in the dollar is really pushing these names, and I don't think that that's going to stop. Once you flip, you're going to get a lot of other buyers in there. But you flipped it. Look, your risk here is that you have another incident. Other than that, you're probably going to push once you flip this level because they're just buying industrials. Like they will buy industrials as long as you're in a position where you're going to buy industrials, right? As long as you're in a position here where they're going to have a weaker dollar because they benefit from it. So I do think BA can just keep pushing, but can you get to 230? I mean, realistically, you would look at this and say, I want to get to this gap fill, right? And so that would be like your first real level. And then you would just think that if I can get in there, then I can get to here. But I don't see any reason why it would, barring news, I don't see why it would stop. You're coming into the 29th for earnings. You have 3 weeks. And last earnings were fairly decent. Like you actually beat, which is, you haven't been doing that since all this started because of how much they had to spend to get back on track. So I do think that's interesting and definitely worth, our attention, Kev. Got a bunch of these, huh? Let's go take a look at them, see what we're dealing with here. The problem with this is you did a secondary at 60 and you can't hold it. So until I'm over 60 on this, I really don't have an interest. I always look at the secondaries and say, could you hold over where you were or can you not hold over where you were? And you can't. And again, like when I look at stuff like this, like I'll just show you this. So like up, over, like everything's pretty aligned to an extent, but here's your breakout, right? Okay. That's enough of that nonsense. So you up, retest, holds, rallies, holds. So you're getting boxed in here. I mean, really what you need with something like that is you need that higher high flip, don't you? You really need that, like that flip right there. Whether or not you get it. LEU I like a lot. I mean, they're the ones that people are really going to buy because they have real earnings, like real value. The question for me is like, you're just so high up here. You saw yesterday even the undercut of the doji right here, doji. And then from there, from that undercut, you lifted and you pushed. It's there. You're riding the 22. I mean, really what you're doing there is you're saying, yeah, I'm interested. And do I want to get involved longer term? And do I grind higher? I do like the name a lot. The question is, does URA grind higher here? And that's really what I want. I like, does it grind higher here? It might. You've been spacing for some time here. You had your first close below the 12 here, and that was an issue. So when you start looking at them, let's get rid of that. I hate allergies, man. This shit's killing me. Excuse my language. You've tried to flip in here, and now you say you're breaking up here. So whenever this happens to me, and like red means stop, like that, right? So I flipped. So do I really want to be buying that until it flips back? I probably don't really want to be playing them because I can tell that whenever red's on top like that, it's not great. It doesn't mean that I can't flip right back. And if I do, cool, then I'll take a look at them. But until then, this has always served me really well because I might just trade sideways. And if you use, like, when I use this, it really keeps me out of harm's way. So like, here's the socks, but you can see this here, and why people would be like, well, I get to buy it in here. Well, when I flip in here, I'd rather be buying the same level here 2 weeks later because I'm more aligned. And it's the alignment that just kind of keeps me out of harm's way. And sometimes, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not, nothing's perfect, but it's that alignment that kind of tells me like, oh, you've played catch up. All right, you're good. And it also just tells me like, hey, stay out of the way, because it has to start like that, right? And then you see the slide. Then technical analysis is so easy after the fact. So when you look at something like this, I see it. Yeah, I'm above it, but I might want to wait until they realign, and then you say, yeah, I'll get involved, just like it did here, and then wait for some kind of pullback, then get involved. I don't know that I want to just jump into these things. I really want to see what happens here. It's very clear that you're going to have a lot of positive information out of the Fed in that space. I have no interest, man. Jonah, I have no interest in this whatsoever. Like, to me, it's like the only thing you really do here with it is like, oh, are you up again? Just short it. Like, I mean, it's really that simple. It's just going to keep trading down and down. It's just a matter of time before they get broken up, I think. I think you're still under book value, right? But nobody really wants them. So it becomes an issue. Nobody wants the parts. They want part of the business. They don't want the whole business. But when you look at something like that, it's just a question of time. Just let it pop up, and then people short them. That's all they really do with this. And then it grinds back down to that 20 level, and then they cover. That's really it. That's all you're doing. I mean, that's really all it's doing. So go here and see what else we got. What's up, Job? Well, that whole space is on fire, right? That whole space is going to be on fire because people are going to keep their cars. So, inflation, like, no matter what happens, as long as this drags out, you're going to have more inflation. Like, you just are on the car front. You just are. That's why inventories on cars are going to go up, not down, which is great for car, used car guys. But if you look at like O'Reilly or AutoZone or AAP, they're all going to just grind higher because it's good for them. It's actually good what's going on. So Wolf, and I want to do Win as well. Yep. These kinds of names, when they get going, you really want to pay attention to them. 855, thank you. When these names get going, you want to pay attention to them. I don't know why the breakout. I don't know why the love there, but you got it. And when you get it, you really want to pay attention to it because these things can motor. And you've been in that trading range for some time. So if it breaks out, you want to pay attention to it. You certainly want to pay attention to it if they break out, John. Yeah, I saw this starting to move. I'm not really feeling it. I mean, go for it. Could it go? Sure. Are there a ton of people short it because it's going to zero? Yeah, it could move. I think there's better, smaller cap names like that to play today. No, I think retail's going to buy the open again. I mean, that's usually what they've been doing, and then they've been getting handed the bag. Retail's been getting handed the bag every single morning. I don't have the 10-year today. I find GEV very hard to trade. I have the 10-year tomorrow. Good morning from Phoenix. What's up, Albino? Good morning from Miami. Yeah, I saw that. The PLTR move yesterday was super interesting, and got all these levels in here. I really have a hard time with these bars. Like, not just this. So let me just drop that there. Hold on. But when I get a bar like that, I don't really know how much selling's up there. So when I see something like this, it doesn't really make me feel warm and fuzzy to like try and stand in front of it. It just doesn't make me feel good. So I would not be getting involved there, man. Now, some of these others, I need to be over those bars. Like, I just won't touch them. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to be right back. I'll stay for a couple more minutes. I gotta blow my nose here. Allergies are killing me. BRB right there. BRB, and I'll put the music on. I'll put your fancy music on, but I gotta blow my nose. It's killing me. More than you need to know. All right. Give me one. Sorry, guys. Yeah, they've never been this brutal down here. So, ever. It's just something. I do understand why people are looking at these names, but like if this was the one that made the most sense to me, this EUAD, and I bought this in here, but I got out of it. I only made like $3. D-Dog, you already broke. This one makes the most sense from a defense contracting standpoint because they have to buy those. They have to buy that stuff. They have to. Well, you just have to wait for the merger to end. I think, Jared, like Meta, to me, makes a ton of sense if you're thinking long-term. If you're not, I think you have a problem. And what I always look at, and I know people think like it's so basic, but that bar caused the selling back in February. How's it going there? Not great. So whoever's selling there is still selling. So I need to clean that up before I get involved. I mean, that's just really how I look at it. I kind of take a harder look at these names and just go, well, what's happening off the open? Well, they're being bought every single morning, right? You see like these congestions, like, oh, they're buying the open, buying the open, buying the open. And then what are they doing? Selling the open, selling the open. Like when you see the green and red, there's a reason why they're green and red. So what I tend to do is just look at that and just kind of go, okay, give me 5 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Yay, we can count. All right, 4 of the last 5 days, they've sold the open. Do I really want to stand in front of that right now? And then what do they do for these 5 days? Like when you start looking at it and grouping it together and going, all right, well, from June on, they've really been selling the open as much as they've been buying the open, very different than what happened in May, right? So do I really need to be standing in front of that at that level? I just don't feel that way. So, and you can see the difference. I mean, when you start really looking at how some of these things trade, it's super important to get that on a percentage basis. Like you can just see every single day they're selling and then every single day they're buying, off the open. So I think that's super important to get and take a step back and just look at something like so simple. Even if I look at like Meta and did this and got rid of like the candlesticks and just go old school back in the day and just look at just go from here. Like, oh, I'm over. They sold the open. Oh, I got one of these. Like you don't buy that bar. You don't buy until you're over that bar. You have to get over that whole congestion if you're trading open, high, low, close. And then if you kind of look at that range, like if we just did it this way, right? And just went old school with it. And we just drop a line right there. And we just drop a line right there. Like, why in God's name would I get involved with that? Like one close over and they couldn't get out fast enough. So do I really need to do that? Sometimes I'll do that and just get rid of all the noise and just look, get rid of the patterns and just look at them. I personally think the software space makes a lot of sense, and you're seeing a lot of money come into that. I don't know if that's the one, but it sure looks like it could be. Sure, like some of these names look great. Like these software names look fantastic after earnings. They've just been grinding. If you look at Snow and you look at the grind of Snow, like look at Microsoft and what that did since earnings. I'm shocked. I tell you, you can't get over that 500, but you couldn't yesterday. And now maybe today you do. Maybe today you flip. But look at earnings and the grind. So some of these with that grind, they're real. And institutions saw what they wanted out of these names, and they're buying. They're buying software. It's very clear. It's very clear IGV's leading. That's why I thought it was such a great opportunity yesterday to buy. Now look at it this morning, right? And everyone's like wondering why they didn't do it yesterday. But I know someone that bought this yesterday and has two thumbs. This guy. So yeah, like it just made no sense to me. I'm like, okay, sell it. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to open at the gap fill, but it's this kind of stuff where it just doesn't make any sense. And now someone's going to come in and pay 5 points up this morning. Okay. I think software makes a lot of sense, but that's just me. What do I know? As far as D-Dog, it does seem like they just are going to sell her down, and let them sell it down. Let it go to 42, let it blow through this. And then watch that area. I'd watch this area like a hawk if they're going to defend it, or are they just going to let it fall apart? I don't think they're going to let it fall apart. Personally, I don't think they're going to let it fall apart because you have too many people that didn't have a position in this that needed it. Bonjour. What's up, Claudio? I'm wondering that if it is. I'm with you on that, Jay. Like, I'm kind of putting my tinfoil hat on with that one, brother. Like, oh, a downgrade right before you added to the S&P. How convenient. Like, I kind of put my tinfoil hat on with that one. That is what victory sounds like. If victory had a tone, that's what it sounds like. Happy Monday. Are you happy Mondaying me? It's Tuesday. Are you playing with me? First, you tell me that you sometimes go in other Discords, and now you're telling me Monday. I don't know, Lise. I don't know. I think you're playing with me. Bro, you and me both. Good morning from the UK. Good morning from Miami. OCC. Expand data sets. Take a look. Are you down with OCC? Anybody remember that song? Naughty by Nature? Was that OCC? Is that what they used to sing? I don't know. It's moving. I don't know anything about it, man. I literally know nothing about this company, buddy. Like nothing. I would not go near this thing with a 10-foot pole. No. I can't go near this thing. I mean, just by looking at the volume, I couldn't go near it. I certainly, if I was trading it, if I broke the news level, like that would be that's got to be your drop dead on it. This is so interesting. Because everybody's blowing off the secondary. Like they're completely blowing off. Did it price already? They're just blowing it off like it's no big deal. Like whatever. Thank God we need more money for those internets. We need more for those quantums. So like the way they're blowing this off is really interesting to me. I'll just leave it at that. I'm really surprised by that. I wanted to short this yesterday, and then I started looking at it going, I don't know, I'm missing something. So I didn't do it. I don't have him down. Thanks, Troy. It's going to be stable coins. I like Circle a lot here. I just think that you have to realize that you're going to be playing a super volatile name, and it is what it is. Yesterday I closed a bunch of stuff that I put on for day trades yesterday. That was one of them. I think you need to really pay attention to this whole space. That's a tough one because if you reverse there, you're pretty busted. So you probably want to watch that again. What's up, Carlos? Hood's fine. I think Sophie's looks fantastic, honestly. I mean, I don't know what the news is today, but it's like it doesn't trade like a regional. You know, it's crazy. I paid $14 for this thing, and I'm like, I'll take my dollar because this thing's going to move too slow. Now it's at 20. And when you start looking at this stuff and you start thinking, like, where can this thing go? I mean, it's pretty obvious where it's going. To me, you're heading back here. So, really what you want here is you want this thing to kind of, I want this thing to kind of pull back. But what I'm going to get are probably two different things here. But yeah, you're setting up here and you're getting huge volume. I don't know why you're moving the way that you are, because you're clearly a regional bank. You're a great one, but you're clearly outperforming the rest of them. So I don't know. Is there news today on this? It's super interesting because it makes me think that maybe there's news on that. Drop that in there. Let's go in here. What do you got? Raise 100 million line credit. All right. Okay. What do they do? Do you think heavy shorts? Okay. What else do you have here? Yeah, I like the Oracle. I like AVGL. I have no interest in trading this. Like, I mean, you're buying, like, I don't know why people are like shocked by what this thing's doing. Like, if you go and look at the NAV, you're literally paying 60% over for Apple. People are like shocked by the fact that this thing's selling down. The last earnings call pretty much said everything you need to see. So, and he's leaving. So why are you paying a 60% premium? Like, I could see paying a 20% premium or something like that, but why are you paying a 60% premium? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, 0 cents to me. But, and it just is. Like, what's the NAV right now on that? I'll tell you in a minute. And then I get yelled at in the room because everyone loves it. Trade hour net assets 656, price to book. You're trading at 158. You're paying 58% on the assets, underlying assets, to own Berkshire, and their biggest asset is Apple. Like, it's probably one of the dumbest things I've seen, and it's just like it's completely shows herd mentality. Like, I'm not knocking it. Like, great for him, but like, why wouldn't you just buy Apple and then short Berkshire? It's the equivalent of like buying Bitcoin and shorting MSTR. Like, it makes no sense. The spread's going to change drastically, whether it's when he dies or whatever. But like, to think you're going to get 58% premium over owning Apple in cash, like, it's just crazy to me. Why would you pay 58% to own cash? Like, it's just dumb. What else we got here? Anything? Let's do hymns. Yeah, that Futu is going to go, I think. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. I got to jump, guys. Trade to win today. Sorry for the allergy.